Hello and welcome to another series of Mystical Perspective. Today we'll be talking about making changes. When and how. I'm your host, Reverend Cindy Paulos. I've been studying with the University of Metaphysics and the metaphysical teachings of Dr. Paul Leon Masters for many years. And I talk in this series about the book Spiritual Mind Power Affirmations. You can go to the site metaphysics.com and find this book and inspirational lectures there on that site. Also, Dr. Master's book, Mystical Insights, is available there, as well as on Amazon, and he has a brand new book called Meditation Dynamics. So it's a subject that's very important. In the series here, what I do is I take a page from Spiritual Mind Power Affirmations. I read it for a week, and then we go into talking about it. We've been doing a whole series, which are all at mysticalperspectives.com. And I'm up to, page 63. So this is an interesting subject, because which comes first, the cart or the horse? In our life, sometimes we're forced into changing, or we can put ourselves in the position of choosing and changing our state of mind, and then other changes happen as well. But first, let's read the affirmations that Dr. Masters wrote, starting with change. I recognize that making changes is a necessary part of life in order to improve and or learn from human experience. Now, we know this, we know if we look in the sky, the weather, the colors, the lights, the clouds change constantly. We know the seasons change. We know we start as young and then grow old. We know we change, but sometimes we hold on to a particular way of thinking, being, working, and we will explore in this next 20 minutes or so why that happens. Again, let's repeat that first affirmation. I recognize that making changes is a necessary part of life in order to improve and or learn from human experience. So a good question to ask yourself is, are you afraid of changes? Are you stuck in a situation? Are you willing to let go and make changes? And then you have to, of course, go into a deeper state behind that and go, why? What is it in you that's afraid of making changes? The next one is eternity. I understand that I have a great sense of security by identifying with God's unchanging presence within myself while living through necessary changes in my outer physical life. So again, here we are talking about what I spoke briefly about in the first affirmation is security. A lot of people find security in the same situation, but in this case, we're talking about a sense of security by identifying with God's unchanging presence within myself. So our outer life, our age, our circumstances, our money, our lifestyles, our loves will all change, but there's always that God's unchanging presence within. So repeating this affirmations on eternity, I understand that I have a great sense of security by identifying with God's unchanging presence within myself while living through necessary changes in my outer physical life. So having that rock, that center, that power, that base within is so key. And every week we talk about meditation, because talk about key meditations are very, very important. And meditation is a key every day to finding out what's going on inside yourself and to making that inner connection and to actually being able to change your state of mind. So here's the meditation affirmation. Through my daily practice of meditation, I am intuitively led and guided as to when and how to make changes in my life. So how does that happen, right? In meditation, we go through many layers of our mind into the subconscious and unconscious levels, and we are open to the guidance from the greatest life coach of all, God. And when we daily practice meditation, we can be guided from that great life coach of God as to what to do to make changes in life. Now, of course, we are the ones in our life to have to make that final decision to make those changes, right? Then the next affirmation is when. I affirm and declare that I will intuitively know when to make changes, be it in my personal life, career, or any other area of my life. So this is again opening up that door a little bit to letting that presence, that God within, guide you to make changes. And this can take a lot of courage, so we'll talk about courage next. But repeating when, I affirm and declare that I will intuitively know when to make changes, be it in my personal life, career, or other area of my life. And the next affirmation is on courage. I declare that I have courage to make changes, for I depend on God's presence, wisdom, and power within me to provide what is necessary to make changes positively and effectively. I'm repeating that again. I declare that I have courage to make changes, for I depend on God's presence, wisdom, and power within me to provide what is necessary to make changes positively and effectively. So sometimes when we think we don't have the courage, that can just be a limited thinking part of ourselves. That can be the ego. And that can be the fear. And that fear is the ego. So when you have that presence of God, that gives you the strength and the courage to make those changes necessary in life. It may not be easy, but you know what? Every major step of growth that takes a little more effort is worth it. The next one is will. When making changes, as with all else in my life, I give up my personal will to the universal will and power of God's presence within me to accomplish necessary changes positively and effectively. So the greatest will of all is being able to always daily connect and turn your will over to God. Again, this brings in a way to overcome fear because it overpowers the ego. And when you're working for God and God's will, you take your ego out of it and you let that pure source of energy from the source of the one presence of God and the power of God to accomplish what is necessary to make those changes. And the affirmation next is already so. In God's mind within me, all changes in my life have already been accomplished at the right time and in the positive, successful way. Again, repeating, in God's mind within me, all changes in my life have already been accomplished at the end and time in a positive, successful way. And the last affirmation in here today is on the future, my future. I affirm and declare that I am secure and at peace within myself, that the timing and how to all of the changes in my life are to materialize into physical manifestation through God's presence and power throughout my future. And repeating that, I affirm and declare that I am secure and at peace within myself, that the timing and how to all of its changes in my life are materialized into physical manifestation through God's presence and power throughout my future. So these are very powerful seed affirmations. They plant seeds that can really bring about great change. So I'm going to read now a little bit about change, and we'll do a little meditation and thoughts on it and reflect on change. You know, it's interesting too. Certain signs are fixed signs. I happen to have, I think, 2 of my houses rule me in fixed positions. And when astrology has fixed positions, they like things to stay the same. There are astrological signs that don't mind the change and like changing, but then there's those that like things to stay the same. Taurus is my moon, and that's fixed position, and I think Aquarius is too. But I've been reflecting on this power of how we release our mind to trust and be able to follow God's will and know what's best for us. And I had a poem come to me this week, or a message, and it goes, in this life, behind the picture frame, would I speak as you speak? Would I act as you act? Would I always be prepared? No, I can only be aware of how I came to be here and what I can't ignore, the feeling seen behind closed doors. I can allow myself to understand the reasons I need to explore this breath in space and form, this life and so much more. No matter how hard we try to control what our life is like, there comes a sacred time when we must truly let go. For life will always change, and no matter how our minds act, we will try to arrange and rearrange. Still, there are always forces we can't contain. For life will always change, and what we have to do is learn how to maintain the faith we need to sustain. When part of our life is deranged, we find a way to turn that page and see a greater picture behind the picture frame. So what I'm talking about here is that life force of energy. We're all in this higher awareness all the time of another power, that presence of God, that force of energy we're living and moving and being in. And which is the real us, that higher source, or the illusion of what we're doing to live out our lives, If we're aware of what's behind the picture frame, the greater picture, the truth there, and the power, we can actually become part of the bigger picture. On the material plane, we create all these bonds and attachments to things we need in our life, to people we need, to jobs we need. And attachments are all right if they're not our complete support system. We all have things or issues in our personality that can create obstacles, can create blocks in our life, and sometimes we have placed them there. We don't even know sometimes that we have placed the blocks there because we want to stay just where we are because we're not ready to let go, or we don't have enough faith, the courage to let go and move on to what's behind the blocks in the picture frame. We come to this earth all here to learn lessons. And some of the things we're learning are traits that we have carried with us from other lifetimes. When we hold on tightly to these attachments we have, we invest our heart and soul and our identity in them. And of course, we can be attached to lots of things. Our loved ones, we can be codependent, we can have pets, our car, our lifestyle, our home, the career we have. And of course, the ego can be very possessive of the things that support our sense of importance. But the more we accept and the more we let go, the more we can deal with who we really are in spirit and what we really are and how we encounter the things we encounter in life. And when we accept who we are, we can then be grateful for the whole of this being. We can learn to accept others wholly. You can accept yourself and others because you understand the soul is living to learn life's lessons. When you encounter challenging circumstances, you begin to see and accept how this will help you to grow. And you have to ask yourself and reflect, what is the state of mind? Are you open to do what you need to do to clear the mind of any blocks and attachments, to let your mind grow? And part of this is, again, going back to our meditation process. Part of us has a sense of freedom and a different perspective about things we're attached to, and in Buddhism, of course, we are taught that there should be non-attachment, and this is a difficult thing for people. But you do learn in time how you can accept life and the challenges it brings. And then you have a tool that sees you through all the tests that come your way to practice acceptance. You can follow these steps. This is from a poem I wrote earlier as well. I am open to change. I am open to whatever God brings. I am a disciple of God's great love. I see good in everything. Lord, my teacher, and Mother Mary, my guide, open up my heart to trust the good you bring in life. For I wish to be the love that light brings. Whatever it takes to serve you, whatever it may take to become a servant of your purpose, a child of your sweet, sweet love. Let me overcome any limitations I've placed in my mind by fear. And let courage come and faith appear. To walk your path each day, and to learn a little more and pray to live as a holy disciple of the Master I adore. I am open to your light and the healing that unfolds as I follow your words and guidelines of the love that in you I behold. So this is dealing with the changes again and the faith to trust in God. And let's just reflect for a moment about if we change our thoughts, how we can change our life. If we change our perceptions, how we can change seeing things. Now, this happens when you awaken and you get past the ego and the illusions. And then you have a different perspective on everything. And when you change that perspective, then you become free, But sometimes you have to do that thing, the Bobby McGee thing. Freedom's just another word for nothing left to lose. Because if you have a lot that you feel you can lose, you are going to have a hard time making changes. Now, I believe in the words of the Lord. I believe in the words of God. I believe in the power to become an instrument of God's words of power and light and love. And I'll see if indeed that's possible in every aspect of my life, where I can become more enlightened and more awakened. Because as we travel through our life and as we live our life, we need to really set our intention on what's the most important thing we want to change for. You need to have a daily goal. And that goal is very important when you realize the best thing to connect with and have a daily goal for is to be awakened, to be connected with God, to be your highest self, this spirit of form and action, a loving being acting with kindness and love. Now, I know that's easier said than done. It's a lifetime work. But maybe you like the challenges. I do. I've been working on some of these things for over 50 years. And change is one of them. Change is a biggie. And what we do is sometimes, you hold on and hold on until you're forced to make a decision, until something happens in your life. I mean, this is very possible. I have a friend who I just found has got a gorgeous horse ranch in Agoura. She has 4 horses and 13 dogs, and there's a fire. She had to evacuate them all. She doesn't know if she'll be able to go back to her house or if her house will be burnt down. Her house is about a $5 million house, a gorgeous home. But that can go up in a moment. That can go up in a few moments in a fire. And then you're forced to change, right? Then what do you do? And this we see happening more and more these days as there are more and more situations coming up in life that are disasters that are happening. Hurricanes, fires, floods. And so how powerful is it to know that that greatest resource that is there inside us can survive through all of these disasters and can give us the strength to go and carry on and to have faith and to have hope when these things come and face us face to face in our life. And maybe they're really meant to happen sometimes, although we can't always see why. Maybe that's something that we need in our lives. So take moments to reflect upon this, and when you meditate, really try to become that awakened, enlightened self that can understand how you can have that presence that you're working for as your motivating force in life. I'm going to close this talk out today as we do with the Aramaic Lord's Prayer. It goes, Father, Mother of the Cosmos, shimmering light of all, focus your light within us as we breathe your holy breath. Enter the sanctuary of our hearts, uniting within us the sacred rays of your power and beauty. Let your heart's desire unite heaven and earth through our sacred union. Help us to fulfill what lies within the circle of our lives today. Forgive our secret fears as we freely choose to forgive the secret fears of others. Let us not enter into forgetfulness, tempted by false appearances, for from your astonishing fire comes the eternal song which sanctifies us and renews us eternally. We seal these words in our hearts, committed in trust and faith. Amen. Today's talk was from the book Spiritual Mind Power Affirmations, and Dr. Paul Leon's master's book. It's at metaphysics.com as well as amazon.com. It's a wonderful book. It has 130 pages of affirmations. They're seed affirmations that help you to shed old mental and emotional patterns and connect you with your higher universal mind for guidance. And you can go to amazon.com as well and get Dr. Master's latest book, Meditation Dynamics. Meditation Dynamics is very helpful if you want to explore how you can learn to make that mystical connection to God in meditation. I have all of my lectures I've done so far posted for free at mysticalperspectives.com. I'm Reverend Cindy Paulos, thanking you so much for listening. May God bless your journey.